So guys, good evening. I hope you're doing well. So this is my review for the original 1974 Black Christmas. Now, I reviewed the 2019 remake recently and there were a lot of negatives. But the one positive was it brought me back to this movie. I haven't seen this movie in quite a few years, and watching the remake, it brought me first of all to the 2006 remake, which it had its good and it had its bad. But then that brought me right back full circle to the 1974 original, which was as close to perfect as you can get for a horror movie. It tells the story of a maniac hiding out in the attic of a sorority house, and he taunts them with some creepy and vile phone calls before gradually he starts to pick them off one by one. It is a film that lives under the radar for quite a few horror fans, including me. Most of us will go to Halloween, we will go to Friday the 13th, we'll go to Nightmare on Elm Street, even sometimes Silent Night, Deadly Night before we find Black Christmas, which is a shame because it's a very underappreciated movie. Black Christmas has influenced many horror movies. If you remember the movie When a Stranger Calls, one of the most chilling scenes in that movie is when the babysitter gets a call from the police to say that the calls are coming from inside the house. Black Christmas did that first. It also pioneered the point of view camera angles. When Billy is climbing up into the attic, he has the camera on his shoulder, which you see very slightly in the first scene, but that's not a big problem. And you also see when he navigates around the attic at the beginning and throughout the movie, the point of view camera angle gives a really good insight into his mind. You can see as he peeks down through the attic latch, he looks down on the girls, you can see him walking around the attic, and you can see him shrieking and just losing his shit as well. And like throughout the movie as well, you only catch very small glimpses of the killer. You never see, it's not Michael Myers, it's not Jason, it's not Freddy. You never see his full profile. You maybe catch his eye once in a while, and you see a little more when he does the unicorn kill later on, but his identity is kept, very secret, and for me that makes the situation a little more creepy than the 2006 remake, where in the first 5 minutes we knew how he liked to sell, we knew his favourite food, we knew every gory detail from his past. Now, as I said, fair play to the 2006 version for doing their own thing, but for me this just worked a little bit better. And Shades of Halloween, we didn't know a lot of Michael Myers. He just killed Laurie. Well, he just pursued Laurie because she was dropping off the keys at his old house for her dad. So it's definitely shades of Michael Myers. But we do hear this killer on the phone in some of the creepiest and scariest phone calls I've ever heard. The phone calls at the start of the movie when he speaks to Barb, they are extremely sexually explicit. Like they're not something it's not something you want to watch in front of your mom and dad. They are very sexually explicit, and then Barb's shouts at him, she tells him to fuck off, and then after that they become even more sinister. He starts to shriek, he starts to breathe, and if I were in that house, I would have been gone. I would have been gone from the house, I would have been gone from the city, and I would have been gone from the state. It was that, it was that scary. And throughout the movie, even though the killer's identity is never revealed, but the movie throws some red herrings. There was an unrelated killing of a 13-year-old in a nearby park, which they they found this girl when they were searching for somebody else. Jesse's boyfriend Peter becomes slightly more unhinged during the movie for reasons that I'll go into later, and he became a suspect as well. So the movie does keep us guessing. We don't get the killer's identity, but we do get some really good kills. You have the falling hook on Mrs. Mack when she goes up into the attic to investigate. Some things never change. You have the glass unicorn kill on Barb's, and you have the first kill on Carol, which for me it was a jump scare done properly. I've mentioned before, I don't like jump scares that rely on a loud jolt of noise, because if you do, you're going to give people a fright. If anybody hears a loud sound, they jump. So that is very lazy filmmaking. So the first film scare was perfectly done. So there's some really good kills. This movie had some very good characters. You would have a very good protagonist, but you also had a good group of characters. It was a sorority house, so the girls were a little older than your typical slasher characters, and they did have some personality about them. So this film was filmed in 1974, which was 1 year after Roe versus Wade. Olivia Hussey's character Jess is pregnant, and this is the argument she has with her boyfriend Peter, that she wants to get an abortion. Now this was a ballsy thing to do for a lead character. You're adding something in there that definitely divides opinion. Now me personally, I despise abortion, I abhor abortion, but Jess had a lot of other redeeming qualities that despite this thing being in her storyline, I could still find myself rooting for her despite what she wanted to do with her baby, the situation that she was in, the strength that she had. I still found myself rooting for her. You had Barb. Barb was a funny character. She, especially for her bye Felicia moment at the police station, I loved that. And Barb also, she was always had a cigarette in her hand, and she was always drinking. Unfortunately, sadly, in a cruel twist of fate, Margot Kidder, who played Barb, actually sadly died of a drug and alcohol overdose later on in her life. That was very tragic, but her character was so well done. Barb was a good character. You also had Phil. Phil was one of the other ladies in the sorority. Phil was a very well-rounded character. She became the voice of reason. She would be that person to calm down Barb when Barb went too far. So Phil was a good character. John Saxon as Lieutenant Fuller did a really good job. Sadly, he died earlier on this year, but he did a fantastic job in this movie. Even the uncredited laughing policeman, I thought, brought something to the mix. My thoughts are this was a good movie. I would implore anybody, go out and watch this. If you haven't seen the remakes, make this the first one you watch. If you are going to watch any of the remakes, try the 2006 after, but make this the first Black Christmas you watch. I can concede that this movie might not be for everyone. It is a slow burner. There is a bit of a build-up to the kills, and at the end we also have more questions than answers. Like, does Jess survive? Does Billy, if he's called Billy, the killer, does he stay at the sorority house or does he go elsewhere? Is he killed? Is he arrested? What finally made him snap? Was he always going to kill the girls that night, or did Barb shouting at him on the phone finally make him unhinged and finally make him take action? We don't know this. The movie left us with a lot of questions, which I think is a genius move. There are times in life where horrible things happen and we don't know why. We don't have that explanation. So Black Christmas is a perfect example of that. 2006 went complete in the other direction, and I think the 1974 approach worked slightly better. The 2019, God, the less said the better, but the 1974 worked in so many ways and it influenced so many other horror movies. So I rented this on Amazon, and I would say if either rent it, get it on Blu-ray, watch this movie, turn your lights off, turn your cell phone off, and sit in the dark and experience this. I promise you won't regret it. So thank you very much for watching tonight. I don't know which movie I'm going to do next, but I will aim to have one done in the next few days. So guys, thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your evening.